I'm very glad to introduce our guest tonight. Is Paulo Milanesio, Chief Emergency Coordinator of Doctors Without Borders in Ukraine. He has more than 10 years of experience in the humanitarian field, worked mostly during all of the largest international armed conflicts, missions, Yemen, Cameroon, Mozambique, Ethiopia, Senegal, Mauritania. Hello, Paulo, do you hear me all right?
Hello, I can hear you very well. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you. It is a pleasure indeed. I will ask you my questions and we'll try to start from here. Is that all right with you?
Very good.
Okay. So what is your main field of experience? Can you please talk us a bit through it, if you can?
Yes, well, I am emergency coordinator. I work with Licaris Cordonia, Doctors Without Borders. I've been working for the last 4 years, working in the humanitarian sector for the last 10 years. I'm always responding to emergency humanitarian situations based with violence. I mean, consequences to populations are exposed to violence, and this is what brought me to Ukraine, and I've been here since last May last year.
What was the most dangerous moment in your career so far?
Well, working with Licaris Cordonia, organization that is exposing you to these kind of situations, it's difficult to find in a specific moment. What I can say is that we are always working in very complex places, as you were mentioning, working in Cameroon, Yemen, Ethiopia, and different places. And now in Ukraine is exposing you to very complex situations. At the end, the important thing here is that our aim with Doctors Without Borders is to work and to reach to those ones that are more exposed, those ones that are more vulnerable, those ones that are more, let's say, closer to those places that are most dangerous. So working in this kind of environments is exposing you to very complex situations. And this is what happened to us here when we are serving to the population that is close to the front line. We need to reach to those places where the situation is more complicated and it's the exposure that we have.
So did you ever had experience PTSD yourself as a doctor?
Well, I need to clarify that I am not a doctor itself. I am an engineer working with Doctors Without Borders,
Okay.
but where we work with our medical team and mental health, it's a main issue for us. It's something that we are constantly monitoring. For myself, I am monitoring and for our teams, because at the end, being exposed to violence, to difficult situations, to situations that can create a trauma, for sure it's exposing you to these kind of things. And the way of coping it is working with psychologists. We have our own psychologists, apart from those ones that we are part of our team to serve the population. It's something that we need to do it because we need to ensure our proper mental health to give a proper service to the population that we serve. How
would do that? How would I mean, I'm in Ukraine right now. So do you think that to some extent we all have PTSD and we need to be treated? How do we find out that why I have a PTSD? What are the signs of it?
Well, first, we need to look for the symptoms. If you find yourself with nightmares during the night, if you cannot sleep, if you feel that your routine is changing, if those things that you like to do, you don't like anymore, these kind of things, if you are not having appetite and you don't want to eat, these kind of things are kind of creating a distortion in your normal life or what it used to be your normal life can be a symptom. So after recognizing these kind of situations, it's very important that you start to cope them. And it's important that you reach to the professionals, you reach to doctors, to psychologists. The advice is always to keep these regular consultations. It's important that you have a healthy life, to do sport, to eat properly, to ensure that you are resting. These kind of things will help you to cope with this situation and for sure to prevent the PTSD.
So are you saying that is there a sort of a preventing procedures to avoid PTSD is to maintain healthy way of life? Is that right?
Exactly. So these kind of behaviors will help prevent that, or to start to, let's say, to reduce the effects of a trauma. No?
But this is for more than civilians, of course, also suffer from PTSD, of course. But
Exactly.
the fighters, they can't maintain any other lives than the life in the trenches. What do if they experience severe PTSD right there in the trenches on the front line?
Well, at the end, we need to think about humans. I mean, then what you are exposed to, it will depend on the level that of your trauma, right? And we are not here to differentiate between one activity or the other. The important thing for Doctors Without Borders, for our psychologists, to our teams, and the advice that we can give is for humans. So you need to prevent these kind of traumas by following these kind of activities, trying to have these different behaviors to prevent this. And again, it's not about what are you doing, it's about how you are taking care of yourself.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Children of war suffer the most. Did you happen to ever help children or children with PTSD? Have you ever seen one? Have you ever treated one?
Yes, well, unfortunately, this war is having a lot of impact in all the Ukrainian society and also in children's. We have a specific programs. For example, we are working in different regions. Doctors Without Borders is working only in this year, in 2023. We have done more than 8,000 consultations of mental health, and that includes children. But children are special because, for sure, the way that they will recognize this kind of traumas or these kind of symptoms that I was mentioning is not that easy. So our teams are working with special treatments, special activities, a special way of recognizing or supporting the children first to find the symptoms and then to cope with these problems. For example, in Kirobora, we have a specific program to work with children in Kirobora Oblast, where we are working in group sessions and then individual sessions for children. So the teams are working through their toys, or they are working through specific games that they can do with the children to help them to pass through this situation and start working to work through this. No?
Thank you. The other side of PTSD, say Russian crimes in Ukraine, and specifically against children, murdering and abduction are so outrageous that sometimes it is hard for the world to believe they are real. Would you agree with that? It's like the other side from PTSD. No, it can't be happening. People are saying that, maybe we should put a wider and even intrusive on display the stories of these kids killed by Russia. So to constantly remind the world of that Russia's deeds against humanity. I'm asking you more, not as a doctor, not as an engineer, but just as a person who constantly counters the awful things. And sometimes it is hard for the people to believe in these awful things. What can we do? What you can do about it?
As a representative of Licaritas Cordonia, Doctors Without Borders, I can tell you that we are constantly. It's part of our responsibility to tell the stories, to tell what we experience in the field. We know that the toll of this war is very high. That a lot of, as I was saying, more than 8,000 consultations of mental health. We have a special program for children, and we heard about stories of children that they cannot sleep during night. We know about children that they are not going to school. A lot of children that has been displaced, they lost their school, their friends, their activities. So we can see that this is happening, and Doctors Without Borders is constantly expressing this kind of the reality that we see in the field. That is through that channel that we are showing what is happening, and for sure we are working to support those people that we find that are suffering for these kind of events in this reality of Ukraine.
I mean, Paulo, you can be killed just as any employee or doctor or engineer or soldier on the front line doing what you do. What is it in you think, that made you end up in Doctors Without Borders?
I think that is something that that we assume. When you are a humanitarian, you know that you are working in a very complex situation, but you also know that the effort of your organization, of your colleagues, is to reach to those that are most vulnerable. Unfortunately, we work in places where we have been seeing how hospitals or different places that should be safe are not safe. We are constantly denouncing that hospitals and medical facilities should not be attacked, that the medical teams need to work in a safe environment. We know that patients need to be respected. And well, we assume this, we move forward, we try to reach to the most vulnerable, and the results are there. We are happy that we are supporting the Ukrainian population to pass through this situation.
Paulo, thank you very much for your effort, for your time, for your experience, and for what you do. I find that extremely important. I would love to have a conversation with you on a lot of. I have a lot of questions for you. Maybe we can do it next time when you have it.
Next time, it will be a pleasure. It's a pleasure to talk with you, Yaku.
Great. Thank you very much. Dziękuję.
Thank you.
Just to remind you, we had our guest, Paulo Milanesio, Chief Emergency Coordinator of Doctors Without Borders in Ukraine, who has more than 10 years of experience in the humanitarian field and worked mostly during all of the largest international armed conflicts. Thank you.